This is not religious dogma or theology, but one of the most consistent claims of multiple individuals who have encountered a heavenly being. In other words, people are not merely stating or projecting their religious yearnings or beliefs, but, like the explorers of old, are describing an entity they have encountered. The fact that they describe these encounters so similarly gives us confidence that they have, indeed, met the same being. My goal in this audiobook is nothing less than to provide the most scientifically rigorous account of the afterlife world, described by those who have had a near-death experience. Encounters with the Afterlife. Before we explore more fully the world of the afterlife, let me summarize what we know about near-death experiences in general. As I wrote in my first book, Evidence of the Afterlife, I first encountered the idea of NDEs during my medical residency at the University of Iowa, as I was reading an article in the Journal of the American Medical Association. There, Dr. Michael Sabom, a Georgia cardiologist, described how he had closely examined 107 case studies of people who had nearly died. Many reported that they had had NDEs and described their experiences in vivid visual detail. Dr. Sabom defended his findings against those who wanted to explain them away as a fantasy of death, or as manifestations of a hypoxic brain attempting to deal with the anxieties provoked by medical procedures and talk. This led me to read Dr. Raymond Moody's classic, Life After Life, the book that introduced the phenomenon of near-death experiences to the world. A masterpiece of philosophy and logic, the book is now required reading for anyone interested in the field of NDE studies. I continued my studies in radiation oncology, which is the medical use of radiation to treat cancer, and which is still the specialty I work in today. But over the next several years after this initiation into NDEs, I continued to read about them. I was fascinated by the mystery of how people whose hearts had stopped were having conscious experiences that they often later considered to be the most profound of their life. With blood circulation stopped, shouldn't lucid and prolonged consciousness be impossible? I asked myself. Yet, NDE accounts vividly described how consciousness left the body. What is going on? I wondered. As I read further about NDEs, I became more intrigued, especially when I kept encountering both logic and evidence that made it hard to dismiss these stories. Like anyone else, I wondered, what happens to us when we die? NDE case studies seem to directly answer that question. In many areas of life, when facing the unknown, we often seek out those who have already experienced what we are facing in order to get guidance and answers. So, if we are curious about what happens when we die, it makes perfect sense to listen to those who actually nearly died or even experienced clinical death. As intrigued as the NDE case studies left me, at this earlier time in my life there was little or no time to conduct more extensive research, or to search efficiently for new case studies. For NDE studies to fully blossom, at least in my way of thinking, researchers needed hundreds of case studies from which to draw conclusions. To find NDE case studies in those days, this was in the 1980s, researchers often had to rely on word of mouth or referrals. Then came the internet. Before long, this technology would connect people and make the world as small as a village. I realized that I could use computer technology and the internet to reach out to as many near-death experiencers, NDEers, as I could. I figured I could get enough cases for a good scientific study. I devised a plan to do it, and even settled on a name: Near-Death Experience Research Foundation. I have the greatest appreciation and respect for those who survive a close brush with death, and have the courage to share their deeply personal stories. It is only when these individuals find the courage to speak up do we even have the possibility for a scholarly investigation of NDEs. I wanted to provide a safe and easy place where people could share their stories. To formally investigate NDEs, I established the Near-Death Experience Research Foundation, NDERF. In 1998, when we could avail ourselves of the advantages of the internet, I launched the NDERF website at www.nderf.org. The NDERF website has always contained a section where NDEers share a narrative and complete a detailed questionnaire regarding their experience. And I mean a very detailed questionnaire. The NDERF questionnaire currently asks more